So we've been in this property now for just over 18 months, and we think we're producing and eating somewhere in excess of 20% of our own food at the moment. We've got much more space here than we had before, and a lot of questions over what to do with it. So we've started in a smaller space really to start with. We've got just under 9 acres altogether, but a lot of that land has been taken up with horses being on the land and with a field for haymaking. So we concentrated our efforts in one of the smaller fields to start with, where we wanted to put a polytunnel. And that was a big ambition, to have a nice growing space that could maintain the heat, so I could have a good variety of crops in there. And we got some help from a local contractor who has a number of tractors, and he was very happy to come along and help level some of the land out so we could put that polytunnel up, which we did ourselves, which was a bit of a challenge, but we wanted to try and do that ourselves to get there. And that went up with some help with some friends as well. And it's taken off from there really. So around the polytunnel, we've started getting other outdoor vegetable beds, compost heaps made of our lovely pallets, and other beds surrounding as well as trying to do things like fruit cages and thinking what else we can put around in that area. So we've really kind of concentrated everything in that one space to start with then a view to expanding into the fields around it to kind of make the most of the space that we now have available. This is definitely not our full-time occupation. We are doing this purely as a hobby because we love doing it. I work full-time and my wife works full-time as well, so we're both working a lot of the time. And we have 2 young children as well that take up a lot of our time as well. So working out in the garden, growing things, trying to find the enthusiasm and the time for it, it comes as just a pleasure that we have, that we can come out here and do this instead of maybe going out to the pub. We may still try to go to the pub as well, but we just want to do this in our spare time because it makes us feel good, and it makes us feel like we're making a difference to ourselves, to our family, in terms of being able to get that produce from the land and feel like we're putting some good effort into our lives, but also to help us think about managing the land around us really, and making a difference there, and making sure it's in good condition, and thinking about the impact that we have on the land around us, but on the planet as a whole really, in terms of things like food miles and packaging. Gardening for us came a little bit out of the blue really, so there is some history of gardening in both our families. My dad actually used to be a gardener as a job. He used to garden in a school where we used to live in Shropshire a long time ago, possibly even before I was born, but he's very much into growing flowers and knows Latin names and things like that, and has done some veg. But when we were growing up, we never grew anything as a family at home. It was, he always did ornamental gardens and things like that. Rachel's parents sometimes grew vegetables when she was younger, or when they were younger, but hadn't done for years and years. So really it's come about just from our own interest, and we wanted to be more self-sufficient, have that security of growing our food. And we both had that desire, which was it was never something we'd really talked about early on in our relationship. It's something that just kind of happened naturally, and we both understood that we loved it. We loved being outside, we loved eating nice food. Our life seems to revolve around food sometimes, around cooking, and around the different flavours we can get going. So it was the natural progression to move to somewhere bigger, and really we've just kept on with that knowledge. So I think in a way I'd like to say we're self-taught, that we've developed the understanding ourselves, but of course you always look online at books, and there's various books on the shelf, some of which I won't touch for a long time, some of which I'll dip into occasionally just to glean that little bit of information that might help me make a decision about where I'm going to put something or when I should harvest something. But I still get it wrong quite a lot of the time. So there are still things that I can't do that I would love to get to do better. So there's a lot to learn.
So it's amazing in 18 months how much you've achieved. You moved in about 5 months before we moved to our new site for Byther Farm. You've got your polytunnel up. I can't believe the numbers of squashes you've got growing. The squash beds are amazing. So there's one squash bed on the north side of the polytunnel, and then there's another one in the compost base on the south side, and it's just amazing. They are prolific producers. You must be really pleased.
I have a real problem that when I get a packet of seeds, I just end up planting them all because I'm really bad at storing them and then maybe worrying they'll go past their date and then not being able to plant them. So let's just do it all now and get them in there. And then if I lose some during the process, some don't make it, then I've got enough to plant. But this year they all made it. I've planted them all and they're all fruiting abundantly. So yeah, I've got some good storage issues coming up.
Yeah, so there's the ones nearest us here are all butternut squashes, aren't they?
Yeah,
And there's some seriously big squashes there.
Yeah, we've got there's some little baby ones, but there's some really big, heavy squashes in there, which some have started splitting with the sudden recent rains we've had, and as they've swollen, they've split a bit, but a surprising amount are still in really good condition there. And I think we've tried lots of different squashes over the years, like Patty Pans and F1 Crown Prince and various other ones. And we just love the flavour and the simplicity of the simple butternut squash, and it cuts well and it has a lot of flesh on it, so it's no messing around. In the winter it's really, really wet here, and there's a number of drainage channels that go across the land that drain water from further up the hill as well, and there's a couple of natural ponds up the hill that definitely spill over in the winter. So we're definitely not used to it being as dry as it's been, and yes, the grass has gone brown. And in terms of watering, I've tried to leave everything kind of, I don't want to say fend for itself, but I haven't given it too much attention in terms of water. The polytunnel is extremely humid, so the evaporation in there isn't huge. So that water isn't going, the water isn't just disappearing. Because everything's planted directly into the ground. I've also tried, when we've planted, to plant things in a way that they'll develop better root systems as well. So with tomatoes, for example, giving them a really good water into the ground first, and let that soak in, and then not watering them for a little while so they develop those deeper roots, and hopefully that has given them a better position to tolerate those drought conditions. And I have watered. If we go out there and water with a hose pipe or with a watering can, we'll go up and give it a really good soak. But sometimes the polytunnel, I'll just do it once or twice a week, so it doesn't take too much time to do that. So this year in the polytunnel, I've tried to maximise the space in there and grow a lot of different crops. Primarily tomatoes. I think I've got about 90 tomato plants in there at the moment, with a mix of cherry tomatoes, salad tomatoes, beef tomatoes, and Italian plum tomatoes, which are really nice for sauce making. But we've got a lot of other things in there as well now. This year with the heat, it's been really, really good for aubergines, and I've got 4 or 5 aubergine plants which have probably got more than a dozen fruits on each plant. So we're learning new ways to cook and use aubergines at the moment. And one of the things I'm quite passionate about, and have been for a few years, is growing chilies as well. This year I've kept it quite simple, and we've only got 2 different varieties. One is called Hungarian Hot Wax, and the other is a simple jalapeno. The Hungarian Hot Wax is really nice. You can use it when it's green, through into a nice transition through yellow and orange into a deeper red colour when it really gets a little bit more heat. But it's a really nice chilli that doesn't get too high up on the Scoville unit, so it's quite nice. And the jalapeno, again, is not too hot, so we quite like having that one here. And the colours they give, the lovely, lovely vibrant oranges and reds, and even the green, is just such a rich colour that it's nice to go out there and look at. Yeah, just using ones that are palatable, have a lovely flavour and look beautiful is a good idea. It feels like we tried quite a lot of new things this year, trying to get everything, trying to get a lot of plants in the ground and trying to make space to grow different things. And I think because we've tried so many new things now, some of those have gone really well, and some of them have gone not so well. I think one of the things I've quite enjoyed doing is being a little bit more organised. So getting things into seeds sown early on, making sure they're well looked after. We created a hot heap this year, which is the first time we've done that. So I built a pallet compost bay within the polytunnel, and I layered that with manure and cardboard and grass and things like that. And we had that at a really nice warm temperature. So all of our seedlings germinated really nicely in the tunnel. So I've managed to do that without using any energy of heating or anything like that, just using the manure in there. So that is something I'm definitely going to continue next year, because in our previous property we had seedlings all over the house, in the conservatory, kitchen windowsill, and it was definitely not my most popular move ever. So it was really important, I think, that I've had a solution to that. So that is something I would definitely continue as well. in our previous property we had some raised beds built, and it was quite a big job to do and quite a lot of wood involved. Wood, of course, is much more expensive now than it used to be, so we have to think about how we invest in different things. So we decided we would just do vegetable beds outside without any raised part of that, and we did it with no dig. We did it with cardboard. We did wood chip paths around the edges and mulched it with homemade compost on the top as well. Some bought in compost from our local recycling centre. And it looked beautiful, but everything slowly started to merge into one. So the wood chip spread, the grass encroached, and the mulch kind of spread onto the wood chip. And each of the kind of nicely made areas became indiscernible over time. So one thing we've decided to do, what we've started doing this year, is using recycled wood from pallets and stone crates and that kind of thing to give a more formal edge to the beds. Formal is maybe the wrong word, because it's still a bit higgledy-piggledy, but I quite like that look. So that's something we're definitely going to continue with and actually help to give some definition to the beds. And we think it looks quite pretty, having it there with the wooden edges. And it gives us some definition, so we can walk between the beds, we know where the crops are, and we have that defined area to grow, and also a defined area to weed within as well, because weeding is one of the things that I wasn't always very good at. And during the course of this season, I've learned if you leave the weeding for too long, it gets really, really, really hard. And pulling up kind of thistles that are as high as my chest definitely is not a satisfying job to do. So getting on things when I see them is going to be a big resolution of mine into the next season as well.
Thank you so much for showing me around, for sharing your really, really lovely homestead. I'm so excited to see how this is going to develop over the next few years. So if it's okay with you, can I invite myself back again next year or the year after to have a look and see how it's matured and how it's changed?
Anytime. I think that'd be lovely to have you back. It's been lovely today to talk to you about it, so I've really enjoyed it, so it'd be good to do that again.
Brilliant, thank you. If you want to follow Simon and his adventures on the homestead, you can find him on Instagram as Duff Farming, and I'll leave a link in the video description.